this video, I'm going to show you how you can generate content for a blog on the fly using the title. So far, any blog you go to is based off a certain niche. And once you find the topic of your choice, you can read that because the blog is all about that topic. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a blog which will generate content on the fly of the topic of your choice. So let's plan to execute this idea. Let's move on to a computer screen and let's get started. So the first step that I'm going to be taking right here is creation of a Next.js project. So let's go to the computer screen, create a Next.js project, and we'll go from there. So I'll simply write create a Next.js project, and let's also open our code playground, and I'm going to open a terminal inside code playground folder. So right click, new terminal, add folder, and I'm going to simply run this example, which will help me create a new Next.js project. But I'm going to go to the home page and get started and create next app, installation, project structure. I think this is how you create a new Next.js project. Let's press enter, and it is asking me some questions. It seems it says yes, I want to proceed, and the project name is going to be okay, so we'll say AI blog gen. Let's name our project this, and I'm going to proceed with the default options. Okay, so this is what it is asking me. It is asking me for do I want to use an app router or not? No, I don't. Sorry, I want to use an app router, but I don't want to use TypeScript. Okay, I'll show all of these things, what exactly these things will do. And by default, we are going to use Tailwind CSS, which will make our UI cleaner and better. And I'll show you how this happens. But let's wait for this to finish. And let me show you something inside the code playground folder. We already have this AI blog gen. So let's open a terminal here and simply type code dot. You can also drag and drop your folder inside the VS Code, but this is simpler for me. Let's come back and let's see whether this project is created or not. Since I can see the success text popping up, which means that this project has been created. So there is an app folder, there is a public folder, there is a node modules folder. Let's go to this public folder. This is the folder which is directly accessible. What I mean by directly accessible? By directly accessible, I mean that if you are going to your address of your website, say www.codewithharry.com, and if you say /next.svg, you are going to directly access it. But if you try to access my config file, you are not going to access it. So public folder will simply be accessible from anywhere, which is why it is called public. And this is the app folder which has the page.js, and this page.js is simply the basic Next.js page. Okay, let's simply say npm run dev, which is going to start a development server. And after I start a development server, this is what you're going to see. This is the basic Next.js page which comes by default, and definitely we are going to change it. I'm going to simply go to tailblocks.cc. So I'll say tailblocks.cc. Tailblocks.cc is a website from where I can copy header, footer, navbar. It simply makes things easier. Or you might also want to take help of ChatGPT. I'm going to give it a prompt, and my prompt is going to say, please provide me a header component for my Next.js app AI blog generator. Let's see what header it generates. Let's wait for it to generate a header, and then we are going to generate a footer as well. I know this is going to generate a very basic header, and this header is going to have some mistakes. Please use Tailwind CSS to style it, not customize it, style it. So let's wait for it to generate a Tailwind CSS based header component, and it is styling it, I can see. And I'll wait for it to finish, and I'll copy this code and let's paste it to this page.js. So let's come back to VS Code. Let me do one thing. I'm going to put this in desktop 5, and this is what I can do after that. Okay, so this main tag will be removed, and let's add a React fragment. And let's paste this header inside this React fragment. And then let's see how it looks like. I'm going to create a folder called components. And inside this components, I'm going to create a header.js. Let's paste this component header.js inside this components folder. And let's import this header component. Okay. And header, and now we can expect something to appear. So this is the header that it generated. Let me see how it looks. It doesn't look very good, but it doesn't look bad either. We can always customize it, change it, and make changes to this. But at this point, I want to make a change, and the change that I want to make is I'm going to go to the CSS of this page. Where is globals.css? Yes, this one. And I'm going to remove all the styles apart from Tailwind styles. So this will get rid of this dark mode, which was appearing by default for some reason. And after this, I'm going to generate an input tag, and I'm going to say, tell me what blog do you want to read? Okay. So I'll say, tell me what blog do you want to read? But before that, I'm going to grab a component from tail blogs. I'm looking for a form. Okay, let's copy the code of this form and let's see how it looks. Copy to clipboard, and let's paste this section. Let's paste this section, and let's format the text, format document. Okay, and now I'm going to simply go to view, word wrap, and let's fix these input tags. So all we need to do is convert all these input tags to self-closing tags. And is there anything else which is giving an error? Yes. So anything that starts with stroke dash, I want to change all occurrences of that. And I'm going to press arrow key, right arrow key once again. And I'm going to get rid of this dash and then select the next character by pressing shift right arrow. And I'll right click command palette and I'll simply transform it to uppercase. The reason I did this is that whenever you are working with Next.js, you need to replace all these attributes to their React counterparts. And the React counterpart of stroke dash line cap is going to be this. The React counterpart of class is equal to is class name is equal to. So I can change that as well, change all occurrences. And let's replace class is equal to with class name is equal to. And we are still going to check for errors. We might see some errors. Let's see if we are seeing any errors. Again, let's reload the page. Yes, there is an error. For the for is equal to must be changed to HTML for, and now I expect that there will be no errors. Also, one more thing that you can do here is that you can simply run a script to set the title of the page. You can do that from the layout as well, but again, you can do that in different ways. So let's say AI blog generator, read blog on any topic you like. Okay, this blog will be generated using AI. Okay, let's see if we have any errors. No, we don't have any errors anymore. And let's see if this is responsive. Yes, I'm pretty happy with how responsive it is, and really I'm loving it. Okay, you might want to change this nav bar to something like a logo here and all these navigation items here, but again, that's a matter of choice. Instead of contact us, I'm going to change this to enter text you want to read blog on. I'll say enter a topic, enter a topic you want to read a blog on. And here I'll say whatever you type, we will generate a blog for you on that topic. Okay, and instead of name, I'll say topic, and this is going to be changed to topic. And instead of email, I'm going to remove this email, and I want to make sure that instead of width 1/2, this is taking the entire width. So I don't want it to take half width, but I want to take it the full width. So let's get rid of this W1/2 and let's see if it is taking full width. So width full, and yes, it is taking full width. Now let's get rid of this message as well. And also I'm going to get rid of all these addresses and everything that are being shown here. So let's get rid of these addresses as well. So I'm going to get rid of this div, and I'm going to get rid of this text area and the div containing this text area. So let's remove this text full message. Okay, so topic, simply enter a topic and then click on generate blog. So generate blog, and all we are going to do at this point is take this topic and provide it to another page that we are going to create. So let's create a folder, and the name of that folder is going to be blog. So whenever we go to /blog, we are simply giving the /blog a topic, and a blog on that topic is going to be generated. As simple as that. Okay. After this, I simply want to create a page.js and RAFCE. And if you don't know how I'm generating a component by simply typing RAFCE, you can install an extension called React Redux GraphQL snippets. I'll show you the extension, but before that, let me make sure that name of this component is blog. And yes, this is how we are going to generate it. All right, so let me show you how to generate it using the extension. So all you need to do is simply type React Redux GraphQL snippets. So this is the extension that I've installed. So you can also install this extension, and you will also be able to generate components using RAFCE. As simple as that. Okay, but at this point I want to create a blog component. So let's go to ChatGPT and let's say create a blog component with title, date, metadata, and tags. The content needs to be in HTML format. Let's see what it does. I know this is not the best prompt, but I'm just hoping that this will work. So this component takes title. Okay, so I forgot to tell ChatGPT, can you please style it using Tailwind? It is generating something. Certainly, here's an updated version of the blog component with Tailwind CSS styles. Okay, so let's copy this code and let's see if we can do something. You can also create this terminal as a tab. You can convert it to a tab so that you have a full view of the terminal, and at the same time you are saving some space which was previously taken by your terminal. Now this page.js, let's see how it looks. Should be okay. Class name is equal to pros and text to Excel. Okay, so title, date, metadata, tags, and content, all these things needs to be passed, but instead of this I'm going to generate all these things using AI. Okay, so let's see how we are going to generate it using AI. This is a React server component, but let me see how it is looking at this point, and then we are going to do something. So definitely it is going to throw some error because we are not passing all these things, but let's create a state. So we are going to say use state snippet, and we'll say params, or rather we'll say blog set blog blog set blog is equal to use state, and we are going to provide this an object. So use state, and this is going to be the object. Okay, and now if we try to access this, it says use state is not defined because this is a React server component. So in order to make this as a client component, we'll have to type use client, and we'll say import use state from React. Okay, so that we can use this use state. This is going to be the blog, and instead of saying date, metadata, tags, we are going to say blog.date, blog.content, blog.metadata, and now all of this is being used, and all we need to do later is simply change this blog to contain the correct title, date, metadata, tags, and content. Let's see what happens. It says the title is not defined, and this is because we don't have any title variable. So let's do one thing. Let's give it a default value of a blank string, and now this component should load. It should load. Let's reload. Let's see what the error is. There is no error, but since there is no title or anything, it is not showing me anything. If I say title here, Yes, the title is being shown here, but this is not the perfect blog in my opinion. I'll have to add a div dot container. So this is a max width container which I'm adding, and I'm simply hoping it to get some space from left right. And also I'll say mx auto, and let's see what happens. Okay, so we are able to see the title now. ChatGPT is not very perfect, to be honest. It can definitely generate some placeholder for you, but later you'll have to take charge and improve your app. That's what it is. That's the fact. Many people rely on ChatGPT for certain things, but in my opinion, ChatGPT is not that perfect, and I don't want it to be that perfect, because if it becomes perfect, I as a developer will have no value, right? So page.js is complete. Now all I need to do is redirect the user whenever he clicks on generate blog to blog.js. And how do I do that? It's really very simple. I'm going to create a state. I'm going to say use state snippet, and also let me convert this to a client component, use client, and instead of use state snippet, I'll say prompt set prompts. Oops, prompt set prompt is equal to use state, and prompt is going to be blank. And whenever somebody changes this, I'll say on change is equal to handle change, and handle change is going to be a function. So I'll say whenever const handle change is equal to whenever somebody changes it, I want my prompt to be set prompt e dot target dot value. Yeah, e dot target dot value. I think that should do. Yeah, and whenever somebody submits, on submit is equal to handle submit, and let's create a handle submit function as well. So we'll say handle submit, and whenever this form is submitted, all I want to do is a router dot push. I want to push to slash blog question mark, and query is equal to, and I'm going to add prompt. Let me call this as prompt because this is going to be our prompt, and this is how we are going to do it. So let's import use router from next router. In fact, I want to import it from next navigation, and I'll tell you why. Because in Next.js 13, you need to import router from next navigation. If you are in Next.js 12, you can import it from next/router. Now I'm simply going to say const router is equal to use router, and that's all. I think this is going to work. So if I go back to my app, and if I type something and click generate blog, nothing happens. Let me see what is wrong. So if I click on generate blog, nothing happens. Let me see what is wrong. So let's open the console and let's see if this handle blog generate blog is working or not. So let's see what the issue is. So whenever somebody clicks on this button, I'm firing this handle submit function, and whenever somebody changes this, we are firing handle change. But whenever I click on generate blog, nothing happens. So router.push is not working, which is something that we need to figure out why. Let me console log hey, and let's see if this works. So if I click on this, hey is not being logged to the console. So what's going on here? We have created a function called handleSubmit, and it is not working. Why? So on submit is equal to handleSubmit, class name is equal to this. The on click, on click, I'm sorry about this. So I need to say on click instead of on submit. And now if I say prompt, I know the spelling is wrong. The prompt is equal to prompt is coming. So I'll say generate a blog, simply generate blog, and this is being passed as a string input. Now my task is to simply get this prompt here and generate a blog on that topic. How do I do that? I can simply use import use search params from Next navigation, and I'll say const params is equal to use search params. And if I console log params, I'll show you what I'm going to get. But before that, I'm going to say use effect snippet. And let me show you what the value of this params is. So let's type something. And as you can see, read only URL search params. We are getting all these things. So hey is being logged to the console. I need to remove this actually because I simply added this for debugging. Let's go back and let me see where my search param is. So if I say use search params dot entries, okay. So if I say e dot param dot entries, let me go back to this page, params dot entries. Let me see what is being logged to the console. Entries is a function actually, so let's run this function. Let's see what it returns. It returns an iterator. Okay, there is one more way to get params. Let's do this instead of use search params. And if I do this and reload the page, it actually gives me an error that params dot entries is not defined. But if I reload the page, I think I should be able to get what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this prompt is equal to how to get search params in Next.js. And I think I might want to search this on Google because a new version of Next.js just came and the older version is not simply going to work. I think I need to use this use search params instead of use params. I'm using use search params. Search params is equal to use search params. Okay. And search params dot get. Okay. So instead of doing this, I'll say params dot get prompt. And let's see if this works. This is not working. Let me see what the problem is. Params dot get is not a function. Okay, so I'll have to remove this params and now it should work. So yes, we are getting this search param. So title is going to be, I'll say prompt is going to be, so let me say prompt is equal to params dot get prompt. So let's cut this. Prompt is equal to params dot get prompt, and we can generate the title, date, metadata, tags, and content using prompt. So I'm going to tell OpenAI that, hey OpenAI, I have this prompt. This is a blog that I want to generate. Can you give me a proper title, date, metadata, tags, and content for this prompt? So the very first thing that I want to do is go to OpenAI and grab my OpenAI key and generate the JavaScript code for OpenAI. Let's see what happens. So here is the API example which I can use. This is the Python example. Let's go to Node.js example. This is the Node.js example, require OpenAI. Okay, so let's copy this. So the next step is going to be creation of an API. So let's go back to our app and I'm going to create an API folder. So let's create an API folder and I'll tell you how to use an API. You simply need to create a folder called, say, generate. This is going to be my endpoint, and inside generate, I'm going to generate route.js. And let me rename it to correct route.js, and I'm simply going to paste this. But before this, I also want to install OpenAI. So we'll say npm I OpenAI. This is going to install OpenAI, and at the same time, I'm going to go to Next.js documentation. I'll say next.js, and I simply want to see how API works, how API route works. So this is how you can use API routes, but I want to use app router and I want to use API for this app router. So let's search for route.js. Let's see how route.js looks like in Next.js. So if I simply go to search documentation and type route.js, I'll simply get this. And these are the HTTP methods that I can handle in route.js. So let's see how we can handle a GET request. Let's copy this and let's copy this one. Let's copy this one. This is a simple GET request and we are going to paste it inside our route.js context params. Since we are not using TypeScript, we are simply going to do this params.team, but I'll simply say, okay, so it says team is equal to params.team, but what exactly is params? Okay, context params teams. I will simply console log context. So console.log and context, and let's see what happens. This is my get function, but also I want to make sure that I am importing configuration from OpenAI and OpenAI API from OpenAPI. So let's cut this and let's paste it here and let's get rid of this and let's paste everything here. But before I do something, I want to make sure that this context is being logged to the console correctly. So how do I make my API request such that I'm able to use it with my page.js? So let's run the dev server and we are going to say /API/generate. So let's go to localhost /API/generate $a is equal to b. Let's do this. I know it's not going to return anything, but params is undefined here. Okay, so the params is undefined. How do I make sure that I get something in params? And let's see what kind of params these are, because request dot, if I say request, if I print request, let's see what we are going to see. So instead of context, I'm printing request this time and we see all these things. So we can say request dot url dot or request dot search params dot get. Let me see how we can get the search params. I think they have the documentation on how you can get all these things from the URL, but I'm going to try. Now, if you go to the Next.js documentation, you will see that this request is a next request object. And if you click on this next request object, you will see all the methods that you can use with this next request object. So this means that I can do next request.next URL.search params, and let's try to do this. I'm simply going to try to do this and let's see what this prints on the screen. And if I reload this, I'll see A and B here. So these are the URL search params, and I can always do .get, and if I do .get A, I should get B. But in this case, I want to get the prompt. So as you can see, I'm getting B. So instead of A and B, I'm going to get the prompt, and after I get the prompt here, I'm going to go to the OpenAI API and I'm going to get the title, text and everything. So this is the code that I'm going to run. But before that, I want to make sure that I am returning a next response. So return next response.json, and this is something that I want to return. Let's reload and see if it works. It isn't working. I think I should not do this new, and yes, it works. Okay, so format document, and this is how I'm going to return everything. I'm going to return this response actually. So let's plug in my OpenAI API. So this is something that I'm going to put inside of my .env.local. So my project doesn't have an .env.local. Let's create one. .env.local, create a file .env.local, and let's paste my OpenAI API key here. So I'm going to paste my OpenAI API key here and restart the server. Make sure you restart the server, because if you don't restart the server, the changes are not going to take any effect. Okay, so I'm going to punch this inside here and I'll be back. Now I have updated the OpenAI API key. The next thing that I'm going to do is restart my dev server, because if you don't restart your server, you are not going to get the results. You are not going to get the API updated. And now let's get back to or API, and let's see if it is generating everything or not. So this is how it looks at this point. And instead of having this horizontal scroll bar, I want to enable word wrap. And how do I combine arrays, JavaScript, chatbot? Okay, so this is not my prompt. I want to say generate tags. Wait, let me come back to this page. Title, date. Let's get rid of these tags and metadata and date and content. Let's simply say title, text, and content. So I'll say generate title, tags, and content for in JSON format for this prompt, whatever the prompt is. And my prompt is going to be this. Prompt is equal to this, and let's see what it returns. And I'm going to see response. Let's see what the response is, and I'm going to output response.choices. Response.choices, and let's see if we are going to get the intro to JS. So I guess it is generating, but I think I need to get rid of this 150 and change this to 1500 because I might get I might need some more tokens. And also let me remove this stop, and instead of console logging the response, let me say response.choices, and let's see what happens now. And here I'm waiting for it to show me the choices. Okay, so it says undefined, no problems. Response.data.choices, if I'm not wrong. Response.data.choices 0. Let's see what happens if I try to access this. Response.data.choices 0. Okay, we are getting something, and then we are going to say text. This is in the JSON format, if I'm not wrong. This is the entire JSON format, I guess. All right, so let's get response.choices, response.data.choices 0.text. Let's get this dot text. This is going to be my JSON. And instead of response, let's call it JSON. And all I need to do now is, whenever I am opening this blog, I want to make sure that I'm making a fetch request to this URL /API/blog ?prompt is equal to, and ?prompt is equal to, and this is going to be my prompt. So let's say prompt. This is the prompt. And also I want to say let b is equal to await, and also let me create a function called fetch blog. So fetch blog is equal to a function which is going to be an async function, and everything will go inside of this function, and a is equal to this await a.json. And I think yes, and also I need to do await, and b is equal to await a.json, and set blog json.parse b, and also let's console.log b and see what it gives me. Okay, I think we should be good now. So we have title, tags, and content. Title, tags, and content. Let's get rid of these things, title, tags, and content, and let's see if this is working. So prompt is DSF, and it doesn't work for some reason. Okay, it doesn't work because I'm not calling this function. So I need to call this fetch block function. What is JS? Okay, so this is not working for some reason. Let's see what the problem is. So /API/ okay, so the endpoint is /generate. Let's see if it works now. Okay, so this returned something. This returned the JSON, but okay, so b route.json. Let's see if it works now. It kind of works, but let's see what the error is. It says object is not valid JSON. Okay, let's see what b.json gives me. Okay, so we are getting the JSON, which is not a bad thing. Amazing, we are getting the JSON, but this is not being parsed correctly. So okay, so b.json. Okay, so now we are able to get the content. Amazing. We are able to generate the content dynamically. Now all we need to do at this point is simply style this page correctly. That's all we need to do. Let me do one thing. I'm going to try this. I don't know whether it will work or not. I'm going to hand this over to ChatGPT. I'll say, can you please style it better and add the nav bar that we generated to this. Let's see if it is able to generate the block component correctly. But also I fear that it might ruin the block that we have created, and it has actually generated this. Let's see if we replace it with this, it is working or not. It is not working. Wow. So it doesn't know what the use client is. Use client, and it says import header from header. No, we need to import header from components header. Yes. Okay, so it looks good. It looks good. But why is it not populating? It is populating. I guess it is taking some time to generate the content. Let's reload and see what happens. So yeah, we got the response, but it is not populated. So let me get rid of this prompt from use effect. I don't know why we have this prompt in use effect, and it should work now, I guess. So we'll have to say set block data.json. Yes, and also we'll have to do json.parse. Json.parse. Yeah, this is what we'll have to do. But still it's not working. I don't know why. Let me do console log data.json and let's see what. Okay, so it is working. Actually, it's working. It is working now. Let's see if it is able to how to drive a car. So let us say I want to generate content on how to drive a car, and let's see if it works or not. It is actually not working, and I'll have to see why it's not working. So bad control character in string literal in JSON at position 377. So it is actually giving me an error. Which character is illegal in this JSON? We'll have to find out. At position 377. So it seems that the error is coming due to the new lines. I'll say make sure there is no new lines in the JSON. New line characters in the JSON. And also I'll add plus here, and I'll say content must be HTML, and make sure that there is no new line character in the JSON. And I'm hoping that this error will go after I give this prompt. So I'm waiting for it to complete, and let's see what happens. It has not yet generated the content. I don't know why. Okay, so how to drive a car is the prompt. And I guess the server is restarting. And yeah, we got the JSON, and yes, we are able to get this working this time. And yes, the content is also in JSON. Let's do one more thing. I will simply say style content must be HTML styled with Tailwind. Let's see what happens if I do this. Let's reload and let's see if it is actually styled using Tailwind or not. And instead of title, I want to say loading, generating your blog, and this time it is actually not working. So generating your blog, let's see what happens. So it says that unterminated string in JSON at position 792. Why is it generating wrong JSON for me? Okay, so the problem is that we'll have to increase the number of tokens. We have no other way out. So instead of doing 1500, we'll have to maybe do 5500. And let's see if this fixes everything or not. I think I'll have to reload this, but also I want to make sure that I go to the home page before I generate my blog. So let's generate a blog on how to generate NFT or how to open a bank account in India. Generate blog. Generating your blog. Okay, in the meantime, you know what I'll do? If there is an error, I want to make sure that the title changes to error fetching blog. Okay, so if there is an error, I'll say set blog and the title is going to be error fetching blog. Content will be blank, tags will be blank. Okay, so error fetching blog. We'll have to see what's wrong here. So it says that failed to load resource, server responded with 500. Why? So server responded with 500 error, and we'll have to see request that should resolve request error request failed with status equals 400. So the problem that I was facing is that the prompt is too long. So I'll say content must be Tailwind styled HTML. Okay, let's see if it works now. Let's reload. And I guess this will work. Generating your blog, and if it encounters an error, it will simply throw me an error. But this is what it gives me. So how to open a bank account in India? Open a bank account in India is straightforward. Do this, do this. It is actually showing me a Tailwind formatted text. But again, it seems that the styling is not correct. So how do I fix it? So I'm saying generate title, tags, and content in compressed JSON format. Style content with content must be HTML. I don't want to style it using Tailwind because it is spoiling it for some reason. I don't know why, but let's see how it performs now. Yeah, so how to open a bank account in India, banking, India, accounts. So these are the tags it generated. Let me see what are the tags it generated. Banking, India account. So tags is actually an array. So we'll have to do something about it. So instead of doing blocks.tags, I think I'll go to ChatGPT, convert an array of words to comma separated. To convert, okay, so dot join, and this is what I need to do. Let's go. So this is what I need to do. Blocks.text.join, and where is my blog? Yeah, so it says that .join is not a function. Okay, so blog.tags. Yeah, I'll have to do something like this, and .join is not a function. Okay, let's reload and see if it works. No, tags.join. So I'll have to change this to this, and yes, it is working now. Generating your blog, and I'm expecting comma separated tags this time. Yes, banking, India, accounts, these are the tags, and this is how you open a bank account in India. And if you want to style it, you can always add styles to this particular container. So yeah, this is how you get a blog, and you can increase the number of tokens if you want a longer blog. You can change the number of tokens to say 8500, and you can go to home and say JavaScript tutorial and generate blog, and let's see. Okay, so it says error fetching blog. Let's see what the error is. So I just googled, and the maximum number of tokens in OpenAI is 4,000. So let's stick to 4,000. So let's do 4,000 instead of 8,500 and let's see what we get. So let's reload and it should be able to give me the JavaScript tutorial. Yeah, so welcome to a JavaScript tutorial. This tutorial will teach you the basics of JavaScript, but it is actually not generating the entire thing. So how do I make it generate longer content? Now there is one problem that we are facing, and the problem is that we can only get certain number of characters using OpenAI. So let's do one thing. Instead of getting this content as HTML, let's remove this part, and instead of this 4,000, let's make it 4,000. Okay, let's keep it 4,000, and this time I think we are going to get even longer content generated. So if you say JavaScript tutorial, you can see JavaScript is a popular programming language, this, that, other, and let me see how many characters are these. Let's see how many characters are these. A is equal to, let me put it inside a string, a dot length. These are only 349 characters, so we'll have to see why it is returning only 349 characters. Now there is a limit with the number of tokens that can be used with OpenAI API. For example, if I type something, it will not generate the entire content for me, rather it will generate a chunk for me. For example, let me show you something. If I come back to this route.js, I have added this to my prompt, which is content should be 4,000 plus words. If I do this, it will generate as long content as possible, and this is something that I really want. So I'll add this content should be 4,000 plus words, and this should actually do the job for me. But again, let me do one more thing. Let me say what is YouTube, and let's generate a blog on what is YouTube, and this is going to generate a blog for me on YouTube. At the same time, let me tell you something, that the content it is generating is in very small font. I will increase the font size of my blogs. It says error fetching blog. Let me see what the error is. I think I cannot generate a text which is more than 4,000 words, because 4,000 is the limit. So let's do 2,000 words and let's see if it works. Let's reload and let's see if 2,000 plus characters is something that it can generate for me or not. Now I want to make a change, and the change is that instead of generating the JSON, I want to make sure that I'm generating just the content. So I'll say generate content for this prompt in 2,000 plus words for, and I'm going to use a single quote here and a single quote here. And why am I doing this? Because I want to make sure that I'm just generating the content. And also let me do one more thing. Instead of saying JSON, I'll say content. I'll come back to my blog page and I'll say content here as well, and API/generate prompt is equal to this, and the title that I'm setting here should be the prompt, blog.prompt. Okay, this is going to be the title of my blog, and I want to get rid of the tags for the time being. So no tags whatsoever. Once again, no tags here as well. And let's see what happens. So instead of setting the blog as json.parse data.content, I'll say set blog, and I'll simply change this part of my blog. I'll say triple.blog, and I'll just simply change the content to this. That's it. Let's see what happens. So I'll reload and let's see if it is generating everything for me. So I reloaded the page and network. Let's go to network and let's see if something is coming back from the generate API or not. Let's reload this page. No response from the API. Not sure what's happening. Okay, so this is still building the page, it seems. Let's reload once again and we'll keep an eye on the console. Okay, so it is actually generating some errors. So response is equal to this, data is equal to await response, and then I'm saying content is data.content. This should actually work, but it is not working. Let's wait and let's see what the problem is. Okay, it is actually working. So I'll have to set the title manually. Let's do one thing. Let's set the title manually. Instead of making it manual, I'll say blog.prompt. In fact, I'll say prompt, not blog.prompt. So I'll say prompt, Let's reload the page, see what is YouTube, and let me capitalize it. So I'll say capitalize will simply make the first characters as capital. And also another thing that I want to do is I want to make sure the font size of my body is good enough. So let's wait for it to generate the content, and we are going to set the size to the HTML tag container. So let's inspect this and change the size of this div to say, or rather, let me do one more thing. I'll say text 3XL, 4XL maybe. Let's see how it changes everything. I think 4XL is a bit too much. 2XL should be fine. 2XL, yeah, 2XL should be fine. Yeah. So this is how you can generate a blog using OpenAI, and you can come back to home and you can say, tell me about JS maps and generate blog. And this is going to generate the content for you. So we'll wait for this to generate the content. And let me do one more thing. Let me change the content to generating content so that I can see generating content here. And once the content is generated, I'm going to see the content here. So as you can see, the content has been generated and you can read the content. Now there are a lot of different ways you can style the content here. You can generate the topics first and then populate those topics. But here I'm showing you a very basic example of how a blog can be generated using OpenAI. So this is going to be it for this video. I want to make sure that I change the color of this purple box to black. So I'll say change all occurrences. Let me change it to gray. Oops. Gray, GRAY, if I'm not wrong. Yes. So gray. So I change it to gray. Now it is looking better. So feel free to change the home, blogs, about, and content in the nav bar. There are a lot of things that can be done to improve this blog generator. I hope you like this video. Thank you so much guys for watching this video, and I will see you next time.